Hey folks, Wally DM here, and today we're going to take a look at a complex haunt trap, which means we're going to be rolling for initiative as this trap takes place. Now our characters are going to be in a hallway, and as they turn the corner, they're going to stumble into an area where a victim was brutally murdered. Now when they enter this area, the spirit is going to manifest, and it's going to let out a wail, and our trap is going to trigger. Now this is known as the Arsonist spirit trap, and you can find this in the Jewel of the Indigo Isles. This is a massive adventure for characters levels 1 through 11 for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons and for Pathfinder 2nd edition. And it also has a Foundry virtual tabletop element. Now I do want to say thank you to Roll for Combat for sending over a copy of the PDF so that I could take a look at it. And I do have to say that if you are looking for a massive campaign that is unique and different, filled with all kinds of different maps and a unique bestiary, then this is probably the one for you. I will put a link in the description below. Now this is also jam-packed full of different types of traps, and it was a little bit hard for me to narrow down which one I wanted to feature in a video, but I settled on this one, a haunt trap called the Arsonist Spirit. So let's get started. So this magical haunt trap is going to take place in a hallway, and if you're playing the Jewel of the Indigo Isle, you can find this location in area P13, the rear hall on the map, and the trap in the room itself begins on page 182. But if you're not playing the Jewel of the Indigo Isle, that's fine as well, because this trap is going to work very well just about any place that you could put it. You could put it in a dungeon, a temple, some type of a castle, a manor, or whatever you see fit. Now what I like about haunt traps is they always come with a little bit of history. Why is this haunt here? Now if you're running this trap straight out of the book, there's two different types of monsters that you would need to be familiar with. The first is the Cragrach, which is a spiritual rock people, and that's going to be our victim or our spirit that is in the trap. And then the second is going to be the Sclagon, and there's some type of a neutral evil aberration. But for the purpose of this video, we're just going to use bandits and a humanoid. So with regards to the victim of this trap, if we're to take a look back in time as to why this is here, our human was trying to burn this place down. He was caught by these Skaglans, or these bandits, and these bandits brutally murdered this NPC and left his body lying here in the hallway. But here we are back in current day, and our trap is going to trigger as soon as our adventurers come around the corner in this hallway. Now our victim's body, we're going to call him the Arsonist, is lying here still amongst the rubble and the dust and the dirt of the hallway. Now this haunt trap is going to trigger as soon as our characters come around the corner of this hall, so that's when we're going to roll for initiative. Now our haunt trap is going to act on initiative count 20. So once we roll for initiative, the spirit is going to manifest, and on that initiative count 20 is going to be the immolation moan. Now a moan echoes around the hall. Each character within 30 feet of the haunt catches on fire with spectral flames and must make a DC 15 wisdom saving throw, taking 3d6 of psychic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. Now on a failure, the creature also becomes frightened of the Arsonist spirit until the end of its next turn. While it is frightened in this way, a creature must spend its turn trying to move as far away from the spirit as it can, and can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of the spirit. So let's say, for example, we have our three characters here, and let's say that our cleric and our druid both make their wisdom saving throws, but our artificer fails her wisdom saving throw. So our artificer is then going to have the frighten condition and has to use their turn to move as far away from the spirit as they can, and that would even incorporate the dash action. Now if the frightened character has nowhere to move, then they can spend their turn either taking the dodge action or trying to put out the spectral flames. Now, however you're running this trap in your game, I would have it so that the characters do need to get through this hallway and perhaps through this door over here to the south. So they're going to need to get past this spirit. And of course, those that are getting frightened are going to be running the other way or trying to get away from the spirit, which is going to pose a little bit of a problem. But I find this trap, or this Arsonist spirit haunt trap, as a very good obstacle for our characters to try to have to get through. Now this is a complex trap, so each character is going to have their own turn on their initiative, and the other element of this trap is the constant element, which is spectral flames. So at the start of each ignited creature's turn, and again that's determined by the immolation moan, so any creature that was within 30 feet when that immolation moan went off on initiative count 20 is going to have those spectral flames. And so all of those that were affected by those spectral flames are going to take 1d8 of fire damage, and then they can make an additional DC 15 dexterity saving throw, extinguishing the flames on a success. So let's take a look at what the characters can do on their turn. So let's take, for example, our druid. Our druid is going to take a d8 of fire damage at the beginning of their turn from the spectral flames, and then they can make that DC 15 dexterity saving throw. If they fail that, then the spectral flames are going to remain, but if they succeed, then they're going to be gone. Now, as an action, this character can also try to get rid of the flames. So if they fail that dexterity saving throw, they can use their action to extinguish the flames, and then no roll is needed. Now let's say our druid successfully did make the saving throw. They can also put out the flames of another character, so if they want to chase down this artificer that was frightened, they'll be able to put out the flames on a different character, as long as they're within 5 feet of them. Now that's basically it as far as the trap is concerned. Our characters are trying to get through this hallway and through these doors to the south, and they're going to encounter this spirit. Now each time at initiative count 20, this spirit is going to let out the immolation moan, and anyone within 30 feet is going to be affected by the spectral flames. Once again, they're going to take 3d6 of psychic damage on a failed save and be frightened, or half as much on a successful one and not be frightened. Now there are some countermeasures and things that the characters can do in order to detect or defeat the trap. The first is that a character's successful DC 15 Wisdom Perception or Intelligence Investigation check is going to allow them to smell an unnatural smell of charred meat and hair before the spirit manifests. So as soon as the characters come around this corner, I would either allow them to check or take their passive perception or investigation. Now, if a character casts a Detect Evil and Good spell, that's going to reveal an aura that is similar to undead. Now, another countermeasure is that the characters could make a DC 15 Intelligence Religion check, or if they are proficient in medicine or religion, then they're going to realize two different options that would help them soothe the spirit. Now, one of those options is a soothe option, and that's where a creature would make a motion as if to soothe the humanoid's wounds, as if they were still alive. And if they do this, they would need to make a DC 19 Wisdom Medicine check, and on a success, then the psychic damage that they take is going to be reduced by a D6. The second option they have to try to reduce some of that psychic damage is an exorcism. A creature can recite prayers for the dead to calm the spirit by succeeding on a DC 19 Intelligence Religion check, and a success is going to reduce the psychic damage by a d6. So to summarize, the characters, if they're proficient in medicine or religion, they could try to either soothe or perform an exorcism to reduce damage by a d6. And as a dungeon master, I would probably allow that to stack. Now, one of the things I really like about this trap is that anyone taking persistent fire damage from the haunt is going to get mental flashes of the arsonist's last moments, including the torture at the hands of the 3 Sclaglins or the 3 bandits, however you're playing that. And that character is going to know that revenge is the only thing that is going to give the tormented spirit some final peace. Now, with that being said, there is no way to damage this spirit. This is a haunt magical trap, so the spirit itself does not have armor class or hit points. So there are a couple of ways to soothe the spirit, and then of course if they were to seek out and get revenge for the spirit by killing those 3 bandits, then that's going to give it permanent rest. And if they do seek out and kill those 3 bandits and they come back to this area where the dead body is, it is going to manifest one more time in its spectral flames, and then it's going to take a look at the characters, it's going to give them a grim nod as if to say thank you, and then it's going to vanish forever. So that's the Arsonist Spirit Trap, and you can find that in the Jewel of the Indigo Isles. I think having a few haunt traps like this that you can just plug and play into any adventure is definitely well worth it. So that's all I have for you today. What did you think of this trap? Is this something that you could use in your game? And if so, what would you do differently? Be sure to leave a comment below. Thank you very much for watching, and on to the next.